Down we rolling?
You are.
All right, very good. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. First order of business would be the approval of the 125-24 meeting. Is there a motion? Excuse me?
Want to do the intros for?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot we've all been so chummy. My mistake. Ben, would you like to introduce our friends?
Sure. Do you want to wait a little bit? We can kick it over to them. I think they have a little section built into the presentation if you guys want to wait a minute, or I guess no time like the present. Can I introduce you?
Danielle Judge, project manager with Fontaine Brothers.
Jamie Bloom, senior project manager, Fontaine Brothers.
Mark Holden, senior superintendent, Fontaine Brothers.
Welcome. So you're the team,
With the team,
the ones who are going to get it done.
we're going to get it done. We're going to be the call. My card now. You can take it. I'll be the one you're calling.
Excellent.
Day-to-day contact.
Somebody have the knife for the blood oath?
There you go.
You want to do the rest of us?
Congratulations.
Why don't we just run around the room in case these guys haven't met yet?
I do.
Ryan Quimby, IT.
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Bar, school site.
Tom Christensen, town manager.
Gregory Thompson, school committee.
Pam Blair, assistant superintendent for business. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Beth Buncher, town rep.
Bruce Fenny, DPW.
Steve Crucial, I get the coffee for Bruce.
Gordon Smith, superintendent of schools. We're excited you're here.
Dory Brooks, Jones Whitsett.
Katie Craig, Joan Witsit.
Hi, Brian Black, architect with SMMA.
Helen Fantini, project manager with SMMA.
Ben Murphy. I got the coffee for Steve and Bruce.
I'm Rich LaRue. I pick up the empty cups.
Well played.
And we have a few people online. Ms. Hill, do you want to start us off?
Yes, Kathy Hill, representing Town Council, welcome.
And
John
Benziger, Skanska.
Victoria.
I'm Victoria Clifford with Skanska.
Victoria, okay.
And Whitsett with Jones Whitsett. And I think Jill just popped on.
Christian's in there too.
Oh, and Christian's on there too. Okay. And then Jillian just popped on.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Okay, there we have it. A crack team all the way around.
Yeah.
So expecting things. Back to the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the January 25th, 2024 meeting.
Second. Quimby.
Wait a second.
You know, but keep the streak going. He was ready yesterday. All right, any questions, concerns, commentary on the minutes? Seeing none?
I think we got to go roll call.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Crucial.
Yes.
All right. I'm a yes. Ms. Blair?
Yes.
Did Mr. Page come on?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. And Ms. Brown is still in her meeting. Ms. Hill?
Yes.
Hey, Ms. Marjan Boucher?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Fenny?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Labar?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Ms. Collins not online, is she?
She's not.
No. Okay. And Mr. Quimby?
Yes.
All right. So the yeses have it.
Fantastic. We're the model of efficiency. We have no one representing the public online, near as I can tell.
We do not. Okay.
Okay. Then moving right along, Mr. Murphy.
John, did you want to say anything? Okay.
I thought he was here in official capacity. My mistake.
He is. I just checking in with him.
Very well.
Gordon, could you skip ahead, I think, one slide? We'll do two slides.
One, Ben.
Right. There we are. There.
That's the favorite one.
All right. So you guys have been beating over that with the schedule, and nothing has really changed with the overall schedule. So I will just hone in on where we're at with the immediate schedule, which is in module 6 right now. So the design team is wrapping up the documents, the DD documents. Next week, they're going to issue them to the estimators. So once again, we'll have two separate estimates, one from the design team and one from the construction management team. And then we're going to have a reconciliation process and VE, which we have concluding on March 27th. And we are going to need to schedule our next building committee meeting. We're hoping that everybody is available on Thursday, the 28th. We will need approval of the submission itself to forward that over to MSBA. So we're hoping that fits in because it's going to be a tight window for us to wrap up reconciliation, make our VE recommendations, finalize it, and come with a proposal to your committee. So does that date work for everybody? Might as well get on the.
3 o'clock, March 28th.
I would say 3 o'clock if that works.
Sounds like it kind of needs to, right?
If so,
On time?
make this all work the way we're hoping it will.
That work for everybody?
Yes.
March 28th, 3 PM. Nice.
Good, beautiful. All right, so once we have the approvals, we'll make our submission, which just starts the review period. So MSBA has 21 days to make their review and get their comments over to us. Once we receive that back, we will address those and respond. And then you'll see the big sections underneath there, 60%, 90%, and 100% CDs. So nothing's changed from that. As I said in the last meeting, as we're going forward, now that we have Fontaine on board, we'll work with them to kind of build out, these MSBA milestones, which are pretty limited into the entire project schedule, which will include all the breakdown of the construction schedule. So you'll be seeing that with the DD submission and then thereafter as well. So any questions from there? Otherwise, I was going to kick it over to Fontaine just to introduce themselves, but sake of efficiency, I think we can probably right over. I know the design team's got a lot to go through today, so. Good.
You good?
I think so.
Good with that, Mark? Okay.
All right.
Just to jump in, we are already working with Fontaine and sharing documents and answering questions and getting input, getting together, talking about enabling work. So that process is underway. We have been putting into the documents that we have right now, the most recent survey data and some working through some grading issues and reviewing the geotech information again in order to help establish some of the early work that needs to be done. Both Fontaine and SMMA are doing some cut and fill analysis right now. That's super important to that process. And we have been exploring with the districts some of the potential layout configuration to enable their mobilization to begin. Upcoming meetings are the one thing I brought this up here because I knew that we were going to talk about the schedule right away. We have the right now we're in this really challenging crunch period of, we have, as you know, 2 projects that have deadlines that are all kind of right next to each other in order to get through this window of time. But we also have a couple more weeks we need to schedule now that we are at this point. And I was hoping Frank was here so we could maybe, yes, he is, yeah. So separately, we're working on setting up a permitting review with the town departments. And that's something that other contacts already being made to establish that. We are going to immediately schedule another fire and police review of the DD set to go through security issues again. And then what we need to do now, which is exciting, is to kick off the furniture design development process. And that's the one I wanted to talk a little bit about because there are various ways of doing it. And every district has a different sort of attitude about that, whether they want to actually have sort of a narrow committee that's really informing that process. But the furniture consultant has all the information we've gathered to date and all that background and the plans. But they have essentially 2 major meetings that they go through prior to then the kind of determination of color and finish. But these 2 meetings are their opportunity to take what we've given them, start working with department chairs again, to review their list. And they have an extensive list that's been part of our budget, but now they kind of really check and verify that. So they were looking to schedule, Frank, ideally a Zoom-based meeting where we actually work with each department head again to review that list per each program area. And they're looking to start scheduling that for any date that works for you, the week of the 1st or the 8th of April. So I just wanted to bring that up, Frank, and see if we could start looking for a date for that in those 2 weeks.
The week of the 1st or 8th of April.
Yeah. And it would look essentially like 2 to 3 hours tops, but rotating through people. So again, we'd probably have a schedule and ideally, I wanted to bring it up here because if, I know Elizabeth, you've mentioned interest in this, if this is something that a subcommittee wants to be a part of, or if we just want us to work directly with the faculty and staff, it happens both ways. So
Dory, is this in-house or a consultant?
this is a consultant, our furniture consultant.
Who do you use?
Stifura. So they're in Boston. That's why they would like this first project, first large meeting to be done via Zoom so they can have screen open and just be looking through floor plans room by room as we go through things.
So I would imagine department heads will look at functionality,
Right.
but I think our perspective is budget and durability as well, which perhaps they won't have that same perspective. I don't know that. So
In which case, that part would be later anyway, because this is really about verifying the budget against the needs, the equipment needs, things like that. So picking up and verifying that what they're going to be putting into that procurement list is accurate. And they have to sort of hear it from their own side. We'll be in the DD2 meeting. I think that's where we'll be getting a little bit closer to color and specific make and model selections. And then there's also going to be a sort of furniture fair process where we bring a bunch of samples in, ideally into a demo classroom, and set that up so that then you can actually be looking at glides and colors. And that's a little bit further on. So that's a good reminder, Greg. So maybe at
Yeah,
this
like I
point, we should
don't,
stay.
I feel like, yeah, the staff is gonna know what they need. I just like walk around the school I'm in right now and I'm like, oh my God, they keep changing all the cafeteria chairs because the kids are breaking them. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to be part of.
Right.
That durability part.
Yeah.
Color wouldn't hurt, but durability.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in that case, we'll work directly with Frank. And Frank, I just want to find out if there's any particularly obvious state that you want us to think about.
So this is department heads
Yes.
and it'd be the entire group.
It could be that, they're coming in say 15-minute chunks like we did in person. We could give you a schedule and kind of rotate through, or you could set a schedule based on what you find is easiest with their schedules. That's how you did it last time.
All right. So, I mean, if you do it during the school, we can do it during the school day if you wanted to. We can probably map something out over a day or two if you wanted. I do have a department head meeting on April 9th at 2 p.m. If you wanted to do it as just one big group meeting. I don't know if that's possible.
I think that would be a little bit tough. It could be kind of wrapped around that. But I think that they're going to have specific questions and everybody will be coming out of their minds with those to get answered by individuals. So it probably needs to be a succession of meetings. But does that day, is that a useful day? And we can have her come out here if it's easier to do it here. We can do it in person or via Zoom, whichever you think is easier.
I mean, if you're talking about multiple meetings, it's probably cleaner to have somebody here in person. We can just circulate people through a space and meet with one person one at a time.
Okay.
If it's a big group meeting, we can do Zoom at 2 o'clock. But if you're talking like what you're talking, just Bell's schedule is probably not going to match perfectly with what they're looking to do. So I would say that week we could probably pick a day and have them meet.
Okay, great. Week of 9th in person here, and we'll pick a day and work through it. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Have we surveyed the existing furniture in the building to determine what new?
John, the front of that broke up.
I think he's talking inventory of
Existing, what we want to keep.
Does the district want to do an assessment of existing equipment and see if there's anything that can be salvaged from?
Yeah.
And because, for instance, the classroom that you invested in next to the media center.
Right, that one
it's
has
fairly
furniture that you
recent.
can.
Yeah.
Are we
A
budgeted?
couple of classrooms like that, Frank, right?
Where
With the flexible furniture similar to the one next to the media center?
I mean, we have a few. I don't know how much of it's we were planning on recycling. I didn't know if we were talking about doing that.
On the equipment side, we've talked to all the department heads and they have given us lists of equipment that they're keeping. Because they have been making equipment purchases and then what they need for storage to support that. On furniture, no one has actually asked yet that they want to keep anything. So we're certainly open to it, but we did anticipate a full replacement of furniture in budget. And I think it's the area I'm most concerned about is your need for more pianos. Because you have multiple places and that comes from the music department that there's pretty concerned about that. So very big ticket items like that are kind of on the list of concerns about, is there a way we can address that? But furniture wise, nothing has really posed itself as something that I would recommend that you keep. But if you have new stuff we don't know about, please.
Can I add in just an upcoming meeting note, I guess? Planning board, site plan approval, is that on the radar at some point or?
It is in the overall permitting schedule that John Hart, our civil consultant, has laid out. But the first thing we need to do is to meet, I think, with the departments, just to, make everyone aware that it's coming, what it is, and then walk through the schedule. And I think we've had a tough time getting that on.
Didn't really work out.
Next week.
So it's not, we're going to try to do it for next week.
Or like DPW, police, fire, you mean?
So it'll be, we've reached out to David Gardner, building and zoning.
Well, let me know what I can do to facilitate it.
To facilitate this. Okay. We'll bring you into the mix. Yeah. There's been some communication. We've been trying to line up a date, just vacation.
I doubt you're going to get much pushback from the planning board, but just to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. So whatever you need, just ask.
Thank you.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And this is just where we are at the moment, just to give you the overview. And I didn't put in there the full estimate reconciliation, just to remind you that that's also going. And we have that staggered a week from the high school project dates. And now I'm excited to introduce our guests of the day, Brian Black, who you've met before from SMMA, to come back again and talk about exterior finishes, and Katie Craig from Jones Whitsitt to talk about interior finishes. And it's a very fun part of the project for us.
Thanks, Tori. And it's a little hard to believe. I think the last time we looked at a major material presentation palette, it was last summer. And so a lot has happened since then, obviously. And we have, a great project. And we didn't want to really go too much backward. We wanted to take the gains that we made and the understanding that I think we were kind of building at that time, and to explore how to tweak some things and maybe get a little bit more texture and sort of life in some areas. So I have materials over on the board, and Katie has the interiors next to it, and you can see sort of how those are starting to come together. But let me run you through the sort of 2D graphic things. So this is a rendering aerial view that we had done at the end of schematic design. So this is kind of a document of what where we were at the time in the design. And there will be some of these, and I've indicated SD rendering on when these are, somewhat a little bit older. The other views, you should take those as working views. Nothing is completely 100% decided and established right now, but there are some things that where we have maybe some variables and we can get some pricing to see what's the most economical way to do things. But just that's a quick footnote that we will go back and forth between older and newer renderings. And I'm hoping that's going to be clear, but I will help whenever I can if anyone's confused about what's being proposed. So this is the overview. Next slide, please. A view at eye level of approaching the building from the west side, sort of northwest edge, and circulating toward the main entry, which is highlighted by those dual projections, which are part of what we called the wedge, which was a reference to the historic quarry industry in East Longmeadow for bringing brown and red sandstone to the eastern seaboard and some really amazing architectural monuments. And so we wanted to reach back to that historical note and also carry that through in the material palette itself. So we heard very positive feedback in terms of having a warm red palette that would hearken to the sandstone. Although we may not be able to have actual sandstone on the building, though we haven't ruled out having a small sort of segment element that it could be incorporated. We've gone for economical materials wherever we can. So this is, again, from the schematic design. One of the areas we've been looking at and sort of tweaking is around the main entry and even that upper portion, because the two elements are related, the upper and lower kind of peaks. From here, they look, sort of very organized and two of a kind. If we go to the next image, we can see on the left where we had the wedge on top sort of projecting further out in front of the plane of the auditorium on the right and the gym on the left. And we had a large projection over the entry, kind of a separate piece. And you can see from here, there are a little bit different geometries. And so what we've done recently in working with JWA in looking at from the eye level of the interior as well. What we were starting to see was on the left, that interior space being very sort of vertical and maybe not the best proportion for an entry to a building like this, where we want to have it accessible by the widest range of the public and students with different sensibilities. So that's been sort of tuned and sort of we pushed that upper element back and we raised the lower element a little bit. So you still have a generous entry. And we've aligned the edges of the wedge, upper and lower. And in the next slide, we can see we were concerned when you come straight on to the building, sort of on axis with the wedge, that the lower was not really talking to the upper. And so we worked on that a little bit. The next image shows the current approach, which is getting the geometries to align. And now they look like they're stacked and they look like, again, sort of a double expression of one element. The third image, I know there was some fairly strong feedback about a V-shaped column last time that we showed. So this is sort of in between. We felt that a vertical column was kind of taking away from the thrust of that central element. So we've canted the columns a little bit. And we wonder if this is palatable for everybody. We would like to keep that much extension so that we have a serviceable overhang of the roof at the main entry. You're going to have groups waiting there, queuing. It just seems like a generous sort of offering of the building to whoever's coming in.
How deep is that over?
Yeah.
Great question. I don't know off the top of my head. I should know that.
The columns structural as well?
Yes.
So they need to have something there.
Where I'm going is,
Yeah.
from an operation standpoint, that's going to be a pain in the ass.
It's pulled out further than we could do with a cantilever. So we can go back and work with structural if the desire is to have no columns. I just don't think we're going to get something of the scale. It's probably going to pull back at least by a third from what you're looking at.
I think the scale is important. I like the scale.
I do, but that was my concern with the columns. It's like, and I suppose if you do material that doesn't need the columns, it's just more money.
Mm-hmm.
I see the kids like carving in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just get beat up.
Huh?
They just get pounded on.
Yeah.
I would guess that's 18 to 20 feet, which might be a little more than the width of this room.
You don't want less than that. I wouldn't go less than that.
No, because
That's excellent. So
stay outside.
Can we make them brownstone color? Because I see the harkening of the cliffs, right? But they're gray.
Sure. Yeah.
If we want to, make that a thing. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Easy. The coloration is probably the easiest part of it.
Because I think that will tie it all in. That gives a theme to the building, like you said, it's.
Great. We'll look at that.
Okay.
Moving around to the south terrace. Again, we've carried this sort of lighter tone red brick through here. And again, this is back to where we were sort of later end of last year with a lighter sort of field color of brick. And then creating these sort of bands of a darker brick where the windows are kind of set into that. And we had integrated the solar shading devices to the top of that expression so that we get high performing windows. I mean, it's good that we have a largely east-west oriented building. We have a predictable sun, fall on the south elevation. And that helps us both mechanically and with natural daylighting of classrooms. But we've looked at this and sort of optimized it a bit further. If we see the next image, and we've tweaked the coloration as well. So what we propose, and I had shown last time a precast concrete panel color, which is dark red, which I think fairly well matches the sandstone colors. You look back at sort of Town Hall, which I drove by today and looked again. It would be of that color. And the library actually uses a brick to kind of simulate that color. It's a dark red. It has a heavy texture to it, but it's only one brick course high. And so I feel like we need something a little bit more. So we're showing roughly a 2 brick tall, so roughly 5 inches band of the precast that basically wraps at the window head around the classroom wings, and creates a string course that I think breaks up the scale of the building, and it adds a little bit interest in terms of some kind of detail. Where if you go away from that, sometimes the windows look a little bit unfinished if there's not sort of a lintel or something. So that's the approach we've taken here. We've also reduced a lot of the shading elements where they are not falling over window. I mean, that was sort of an obvious. We had some nice feedback from the Fontaine folks about could you mount to the window frame? And we talked that through, and I think it was a good sort of investigation. Currently, we're penetrating the brick wall and anchoring to structure in the wall, but we've reduced quantity. So you will see a change in terms of a downscaling of the cost of these. It is still a light colored metallic painted sunscreen, which consists of sort of airplane wing shape aerofoil louvers. So moisture is not likely to rest on them and you won't get icicles and such. So they're lower maintenance. And generally the masonry is very low maintenance. It's just a very straightforward approach. You've got plenty of red brick examples in the district. And the other material piece of this in terms of the window frames is staying with something like what is here now. So retain some of the memory of it, of the dark brown window frame color. So what we would do is just elevate that to have a metallic finish so that sunlight, you get a little bit of that glint that makes it look more like metal. Some of the windows here look almost black, and I don't know if that's weathering or if it was just if there were replacements or things like that. But
what happens with weathering with that? Like 30 years or 20 years from now, is that still going to have a metallic, or is it going to get that kind of sort of a fuzzy look to it?
It will remain bright. It's sort of like a car body paint finish that gets applied in the factory. So it's a typically the warranty is I think 35 years or so for the finish.
Are you still tying the metal back into the structure, or have you figured out a way to attach it to the window?
So the windows don't typically accept a structure like that. They're engineered to be holding the glass only and to be sitting on a structure itself into the wall. So attaching to the wall is, we think, the most straightforward way to do it. if you were to convert to curtain wall systems, which tend to run higher cost, you could be able to mount to the window frame, the curtain wall frame, because those can be fitted with internal steel that can support that load. We're finding that window frames that have the triple glazed units, which we will have, again, we've reduced the quantity below even what we were originally targeting. That those are very heavy, and so the way that we support them, the typical detail has changed since even a few years ago with the double pane. So I think manufacturers are still catching up with that factor, and so adding on another piece that's going to have wind loads on it is a bit more difficult challenge. So we think this is a fairly straightforward approach.
Question. So
Yes.
the movers up there for the sun, like I've been trying to get this pushed out. And I know the idea is it's going to make the inside too dark. But with those on there to kind of eliminate the sun coming in, I mean, isn't that counterproductive to trying to have a big, wide open, unless I was misunderstanding you guys, like, you know, I've been trying like, oh, if we put a cantilever, bring this out, that it makes the inside darker. But then I'm noticing that this is up here, but that's supposed to help keep the sun from being too much, right?
So the upper screen, yes, is meant to be a sun baffle, right? And it's meant to be more effective in so summer, which is not as much an issue in a school, but is an issue in a school that's used year round. But when the sun is higher in the sky, that device will shade like a mini blind would, right? The overhang is a different way to do it, which gives you total blockage of sunshine. But when the sun gets low enough in the winter, you're actually going to get a brighter interior and you're going to get some heat gain, which our mechanical engineers also sort of calculating.
It goes through the louvers instead of.
So think of this as two zones. The upper is sun control and the lower is protective. So that's the piece that we pushed out further to get basically 2 rows of tables underneath it.
You fit 2 rows in there now?
Totally protected.
Okay.
So how far does that come out?
This is about 12 feet.
Minutes, okay.
All right, that's fair. I'll shut up now. Thank you. It's been a long, hard fight.
You ask good questions.
And we've applied a wood look metal ceiling underneath so that we get some of the nice warmth of the interior coming out as well. So that's extending the idea. I think I'm not sure if we've acknowledged the columns. There are 2 columns that are, I think, coming to the exterior in this view, but we are planning to clad those with brick, a dark brick, so that they will kind of disappear. But this is the current status of where we are. We do have a granite base on the building, which is a modest height. It's just enough to get the brick up out of the ground and not make it susceptible to salts coming up and efflorescing and turning white on the surface. And we have some work to do in terms of the site design elements. I know we've talked a lot about having some kind of a shelter element. I know Eric is working on that. And we'll have something in the pricing, but I think we'll have to come back with Eric and show you kind of what the latest thoughts are in terms of this patio and also the other outdoor common space.
Brian, you said it's about 12 feet deep? Excuse me.
I think so. Yeah, I should have done my measurements before I came, but
it doesn't need any intermittent support.
So it does. That's where. So if you see the white columns in the middle, yes, I believe that we're going to have another set of 2 outside the building that support that overhang, and that allows us to extend it even further. And we could keep pushing that if we feel it's not quite enough, but to us, it's getting fairly big, and you don't want it to be too large and feel oppressive. That's the balance I think that we have to strike.
Now, would you put do these come all the way out to the edge there so the columns would run along?
They don't. So the white columns in the middle?
Yeah.
That would be where you'd have another line of them outside. The others are just wrapping the vestibules.
Can I ask a question about the windows, I'm not sure what you call that piece that comes out. Have you used that at other high schools as well?
We have a lot.
One around here? It's curious. I'd love to see it.
We have that on Plains Elementary and
in
South Hadley.
Yep.
Do the spider webs get in there?
Right.
Spider webs?
Possibly, not to the point that you mean.
That it's a problem? Yeah, like fill up with
Yeah.
stuff, with spider webs.
Yes.
That's what I'm worried
The
about.
hose.
If they need hosing down.
They do need hosing down.
Yeah.
Okay, Bruce, you got that?
That's not my job description.
We have raised them to the top of the window, which is about 11 feet high. So the fear of someone jumping up and grabbing it is, unless they're, the star basketball player, may not be as much an issue.
Birds nesting on.
Sure.
I don't know.
Shouldn't be. I think the spacing is probably too big for nesting.
All right. Thank you.
Next image. So here we're back to the schematic design rendering of the outdoor commons, and we haven't reproduced the sort of quality of the image. We've taken away the sail structure, shading structure, and we are working on that the same way we're doing on the south patio. This, I think, and we've tweaked some of the materiality here, but the upper portion, the metal, formed metal cladding that's on the upper sort of volumes of the building, which is up high.
In the front, this stuff that you see from the front is shipping container. And that's what I see when I see that stuff, with all due respect. That's what it is over the front of the whole school.
It's formed metal.
I thought we left that brick. We went to brick.
No, we left
brick less expensive, which is why the second floor, we talked about a different color brick.
So we started with porcelain, and
I thought we left the metal though. No,
we have metal. Yeah.
I thought we left the metal, not no metal.
Oh, left one away from.
Went away from.
Left isn't.
It took away the metal.
No, the conversation was around.
Sorry that we didn't hear it that way.
Yeah, we didn't. Absolutely didn't. We had three, as Helen was.
Yeah.
And you can look at brick.
We stayed at the middle level.
The brick was like 1.5 million extra, right, over the metal?
It's about, at the time we said it was about $500,000 less to go to brick.
Less.
It was less than.
Yes.
When I look at the numbers now, it's probably more like 400,000. It's not nothing. We can look at a totally different tonality of brick up there. We also have to talk to our structural engineer about the extra weight.
I get that.
So
because the brick system is a single withe that basically its weight supports itself. And in the 2-story building, we don't even need right angles to hang the brick. We can just let it run from base to roof.
Yep.
Up here, we're going to need to rest it on something. So there could be a slight uptick of steel tonnage to do that. So we'll look into that.
Bruce, how do you feel on the brick?
I think it would be too much brick to put it up there as well.
Too much brick.
that was, if you don't mind, Greg, I did take notes, and I do feel that you came around to having that difference in material was more the.
We were back and forth.
Higher.
Ultimately thought it might be too
And
much.
to have it feel lighter on top. So that's what we heard. So
Okay. I mean, I don't remember. I really thought we talked 2 different colored bricks
Can we
for
just-
durability, for longevity, and for not the shipping container look that that's talking
The
about.
meeting I wasn't here for, which is why it went smoothly, I'm sure. I just think it's a super trendy look.
Jump to slide that
I just
material
was hoping
Oh, sorry.
it was a lighter toned brick and that it wasn't
down at the end.
a metal.
Keep going.
Keep going.
No, because
Oh, when you
I wanted, I
do that material.
talked about some kind of ceramic coated stuff, but that was too expensive.
Talked about that first.
Then we ended.
It was tile.
Porcelain metal. Yeah.
Went back and forth.
Definitely.
Yeah, keep going, Gordon. Couple more.
Sorry, it's slow. It's because it's a big file.
Gotcha.
Yeah. How do you remember this?
Kind of
With
do
the
remember. I remember going back and forth. I remember some conversations about how it was going to look more like an, I don't know, institutional, like too much brick or.
That is just.
But now that you see it, it looks a little different than maybe we visualized it then.
Me too.
We
We were just talking about liking the modern look, but.
You like the metal?
To be contrary.
No, you can be country. And I think this is where adding color can really sort of elevate it even more. So the rendering, we've been using grays. We could add even more color. We could add, a red or something else.
I think
Well-
make it invisible. I personally, and I get it, you guys have a say. I just feel it's like when you walk into a city now, like, and they're redoing, they're like completely gentrifying or whatever, that's what they put on all the buildings. Everything's straight and very, just sterile looking. And I guess I feel like, what's that going to look like in 20 years? Is that going to be avocado to the rest of the world?
Or brutalism.
So, I don't want to be like the person that makes the decision, but I wasn't here during that meeting, which was my bad, but I guess I remember when we toured the school, the one thing I didn't like about that school was how the auditorium came out and it looked like a shipping container. And it just blows my mind that that's like style, I guess, because I feel like it.
Let's keep on talking. Songs to get going. I have a formal answer.
Long-term durability.
Aesthetics. We go a lot of panels now. What we're doing now is brick up 2 stories, then panels from there. We've gone from doing a brick and block and no water in to rain screen systems that work. Where it's all personal preference. The plain school we did had the porcelain outside. It's a beautiful look. It really is preference. And again, the contrast is nice and might look shipping containers, but doesn't need to look like those panels. Panels can be a different range. It doesn't need to be ornamented. They can do smaller squares, bigger squares. They can design many things to make the panels.
Something that's not up and down like
You could do horizontal, you could do smaller. I mean, these guys can design many different
talk me into it.
panels.
I'd like to say 400,000.
Herringbones. You can do different panels, but the contrast is a big contrast, and to add the brick on top, you're talking more moment connections, larger steel, bigger relieving angles to carry that weight. So you're adding a little bit more underneath, maybe bigger foundation, bigger piers that carry, it all adds up. You might say $400,000 per panel, but it might be another $50,000 more foundation and thicker steel. So it all kind of ties together.
And of the lightweight material, this is the most economical by a lot. It's not as economical as brick.
Yeah.
But compared with the porcelain tile, it's maybe even half as much.
Okay, because I guess I look at, and I remember thinking, what a stupid idea back when they did this on the library. They put those metal panels on the
copper panel.
No, not the copper. The copper's cool. I'm talking about the white panels that are metal that are on that front little portico that punches out, and they look off. They look
really bad though. I mean,
almost immediately check those out. Things that resonate in time because I'm looking for this to look good in 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where there's a lot of things wrong with this school, but the one thing that's not wrong with this school right now is the brick. So that's just where I'm coming from in terms of,
Don't they have ones that look like wood?
We've done ceramic panels, like a couple of schools ago. We did them again, brick again, and then the ceramic panels were on the side, open. We're going to call it rain screen system, same thing, but it looked like a brick face, but it was different colors, and it really kind of stood out a lot. That again, the contrast you're looking for, I think, is the right concept to go instead of looking at one. You might think there's like shipping container, but when you get the contrast, it kind of picks up different things, different angles. The sunlight really makes a lot of difference as these guys are kind of design something versus just a flat look.
I think
there are different profiles.
Finish really, right?
Finish absolutely kind of creates that illusion of your different, absolutely.
I want to say just from an architectural standpoint that to architects is really noticeable about why you wouldn't use brick there is that these volumes are kind of hovering at a different place. If they were all aligned with the front wall, they would logically go brick all the way to the ground because that's what your brain wants, right? It's supported. But when these are actually inset from the wall that is connected to that granite base, if you stick a wall back there, it's like putting something heavy on in the middle of the roof. Your brain goes, why is that? It starts to feel a little bit awkward. So to us, the lighter weight of those materials, makes sense to your brain when you're looking at things. And that's part of
the installation part too is a little easier. I mean, you're going to go from a shipping container look to almost a factory look if you're doing it. It's going to be a big box now. And
I understand that. And I mean, I know that I know when they put Drive It on Birchland, I was like, oh, is that Drive It, right?
Yeah.
That was like, oh man, that's a nightmare, right?
I agree.
It's like, why was that picked? So it's like, I don't want us feeling that way. I also don't want us feeling like obviously it's a modern building, but we don't want it to feel like it's super dated either. And I guess that's what I bought a pool for God's sakes, and the outside of I'm looking at it, I'm like, we just bought the cheapest one because the thing had died. I'm looking at it, they made it look like a shipping container on the outside. So I guess I'm just trying not to be trendy, but if you're saying there's paneling out there that's this metal stuff or the ceramic or whatever it is, that doesn't have to look like that. It could be beautiful. I don't know. And that's my personal opinion, but I want it to last, and I want it to not, I want it to last. That's my thing too. Yeah.
So if you want something that is a rain screen, lightweight panel, there's going to be a cost premium for that. And we can have that priced in this round of exercise. Two other ways I can think of is you make it brick, but you get away from any association of the color of the brick. So it can be like a light gray, something abstract, neutral, soft. Maybe it doesn't look like brick anymore, would be your hope. The other is something like a cast stone panel that would be probably a rain screen, so a thin application, but it's a manufactured masonry type product, like an Arriscraft, and maybe do it vertically or something so that it doesn't look like something that's supposed to be weight bearing. So I think there are a couple of
Plains is Arriscraft, right?
Yeah.
Is Christian out there? Christian there?
He was in, but
I am.
There he is. Thoughts on this, Christian? Because I like the architectural aspect, because I take your word, Dory, that it's the architecturally, you know better.
and Pope Francis, and we did Pope Francis, and you look at the front of Pope Francis, some of those are ceramic type panels in the open area.
Right.
You can see
The ceramic was a cost issue, though.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's all a cost issue.
Yeah. Christian, any thoughts on this while you're here?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at South Hadley that we did with Mark is a good example, because we've got kind of all of these materials. We've got brick. We have an Ayers clip above that is very expensive. It was, not as expensive at the time, so it worked out well. But these days would be incredible and also require a lot of structure because it's quite heavy. But then we also did a lot of that building with metal panels, and I think it stands up well over time. An entire metal building, that's one thing, but if it's used as an accent like shown here, to me, that's something else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I have samples of the panels. There's one version that has sort of a serrated profile, so it does look a little bit different than your average, shed. That's not a great selling point, but I have a couple of components there as well. I have a piece of porcelain tile, and I have the cast stone, call it.
Do we remember the cost delta on the porcelain? It was a way out.
Let's look it up for you.
Yeah. I have a slide that shows
the
materials
relative
on
costs,
sort of like a scatter chart.
Okay.
Tell me
Which is not the most empirical.
Can I just ask one question, just out of curiosity, and not to direct anywhere in this, but is it also the color that you're seeing there?
I like the lighter color. I mean, I don't think it was that. I think even the,
Gotcha.
that wasn't the problem. It was the
shipping container-esque.
container-esque vibe, yes.
And the longevity and the look long-term.
Yeah.
So bring to the metal panel, it's easier to maintain as well. It's something we could do in-house. If it got dented or like that, we would be able to maintain that.
But if we did like, okay, so you're saying the brick's more, it's going to cost more money. How much more? Okay, if the brick's less money, how much more is it going to be to cost to put a lighter color brick up there in terms of structural? Millions or off?
Yeah. So going with brick and having heavier steel versus having a rain screen that is at a higher price point, it might be a wash.
I think it looks cool.
But we would explore that in this round of pricing when it's being looked at, have line items,
South Hadley.
each of the options.
Doesn't have to look like it.
We're just looking at South Hadley. It's horizontal metal.
We can look at turning the
I
orientation.
don't like that much better.
We don't.
But some of us do. Danny does. I don't want to, it's committee. It's going to happen, right?
All right, well,
So we've got a few slides to get through, right?
yeah.
In the interest of moving off of this, does it make sense to perhaps investigate a few other metal options? Just, stay with the same concept, but maybe some different aesthetic? If we can't come up with something a little more appropriate?
Yep.
And so, the porcelain is going to be double based on this chart, roughly.
Yeah.
We're not going to do porcelain because we want sod still. So
Significantly more expensive.
I would be curious how much more the structural.
we're getting the sod. We're getting the sod.
Okay,
Oh, he wants
quiet.
that.
So we will need to
Yeah.
outline some.
And just so the Fontaine folks said, you're wanting to hear about the cost of the structural for the bricks. So we'll, because now we have both our estimator and Fontaine will be like exploring that, but we won't have the same level of detail in the drawings to work from. So we'll have to kind of put our
Yeah,
head.
it's going to be narrative, right? I mean,
Yep.
I think we want to go back a few. About here. So be looking at the corner of the preschool, there's an idea to look at having the windows be kind of seating opportunities from the inside, which would be a sort of a built-in element that the kids can go to, have a little space where they can maybe take a book and just sort of be next to the outdoors, right? So how did that express on the outside is as kind of these playful boxes. And, we might have, sort of taken this too far relative to what the program really is, but we've done similar on, say, elementary schools, and it's a nice approach. The alternative would be to simply just treat these as all the other windows in the next slide. This is an older image again, but looking on the left, it would be, sort of the same language wrapping that corner.
Where's the approach for the students and families as they come up to that? That's further to the left?
On the previous slide, it's just to the left where.
Yeah.
So you're like getting.
Because you want them to get the feel of it more than anybody else, I would think, right? Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and state that I wanted us to talk about it here or get some reaction to it. My thinking being that right now we have a preschool program, and it's a relatively small program. Is it at any point in time you opted not to have that program? Would it bother you to have this? That's all the question. Because I think I like the change.
Playfulness of it, yeah.
Playfulness.
Yeah.
An area that's got some outdoor features that are nice.
We're gonna have a little playscape there too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a fenced yard right around.
I feel like I like that. Yeah, I'm not real fond on the yellow necessarily. I don't think Heather is either, but I don't mind a different color. It's playful color is.
I believe metal. Brian, that's metal panel.
It is.
I heard you.
I'm not a big fan of yellow.
I heard you with yellow.
Maybe the front should be yellow.
What colors do you like?
And orange. Okay. Yeah. No, I do like the metal.
Greg wants the intern, by the way. I don't know if he's.
Okay, so that was, sounds like we're liking this.
So
It's okay if things.
so we can pay for the brick.
Right, moving on.
Did you want that?
Yes, this. So one, and I think again heard last time, and we you always know when maybe the door isn't 100% closed on a thing, but where I had heard a lot of positivity about the horizontal sort of banding expression, I know that some liked a vertical approach, and so could we have it both ways by integrating sort of a textured pattern, which is that sort of lighter touch of textured brick in these panels that kind of go up and down on the facade. It looks a little bit more playful, breaks down the reading of, that you might associate like with an office building of the sort of strip windows. So we would like to also price this as something like 15% of all the brick facades, maybe it's even lower, like 10, of being, basically it's a weave of the brick where the short end is extended out by about an inch. So it gives you a shadow effect.
Oh,
And in the next image, I think it's the next image. Yeah, on the left, you can see, and it could even be a little bit more dense than that. But it just gives this sort of tactility to the wall, and it gives it an interest in read.
It'll be a rock wall.
Hopefully no one's climbing that.
If they do.
Is this only on the south side?
We would wrap it into the outdoor commons also, only. Not on the front. I think the front is a bit more formal.
And I'm worried about northern exposure and mold cliffs, like a shell for mold or moss to grow.
Right, and where you wouldn't really appreciate the shadow effect.
Yeah. True.
I think if we did it on the south, we'd want to at least wrap it on the ends and maybe not the north side, but then pick it up again on the back of the art wing.
We're going to get to it.
Yeah. Yes, no, reaction?
Well, is there, I know it's a rendering. Do you have examples of it? What it would actually look like in real life?
There's an image. I think it's the next slide. So this is just summarizing the palette, which is over here. And I don't know if we want to look at that before we go to interiors or just look at it all at the end. And this is kind of the summary. I'm just accelerating through here so we don't have to go back.
Mount Holyoke College, the newer dorm right on Morgan Street, has that kind of.
Okay.
We have it up at Gardner in a nice way too.
You don't, I thought I saw a slide that had that.
There is. I think the next one is talking about brick. Oh, nope, we're still talking about technical parameters, which we're always optimizing. And this is highly technical. We don't really have to go through that. I have taken out 1.5 inches of insulation on the roof, which is good. So if you click again, here's in real life what that texture looks like.
Have any of you guys worked at the West Springfield High School? Anybody seen it? I'm going to send a picture of, I know this is a slide and it doesn't match, but I just wanted to send it. It's inside of their cafeteria. And I just want to say before you go to like the interiors, and I'll shut up. It looks like it's that precast stuff I think that they use like on Walgreens, I kid you not. But the way that they've done it, and then they have a rounded base that goes to it. It really looks like brownstone that we would find here, a little lighter tone. And it's
precast.
It is precast.
Concrete, maybe?
Yeah.
It's a precast setting.
It is. Have you seen it? I did.
I did it.
Oh, you did it.
I feel like
Yeah.
Behind it, so it's like we've got all the experts.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and it matches the town hall, and it matches. Every day I walk by, I'm like, that is gorgeous. I have to take a picture and send it to Dory, or like, and I don't know why I haven't, but I guess that's just if we were trying to match the idea of some of the building structures that were made with brownstone, that fits it better. I mean, do you get that feel from it?
It's just the design. It's the precast. It's the cafeteria there. It's just matches the whole house. There's a lot of brick and,
Yeah. And maybe, I know that you've done this work now, but I'm like, but anyways, I'll send a picture.
In terms of incorporating that in the exterior, is that what you're asking?
But they do
Interior. Well, you're looking for like some design aesthetics to do something different on the outside. And I thought maybe that might be like, I'm not saying doing the molded cast because that's curved and that's crazy good. But the way they stacked the brick, it's smooth. And then it's like, it's crunchy, rougher. Thank you. And then smooth. And it just kind of has that feel of, so if you were thinking of doing something, maybe you can, maybe you can't.
Is that something we could do on the exterior, Mark?
We have masons that could do that without being a design.
But the similar, the West Springfield one, the interior, that's an interior.
That's the interior feature.
Is that something potentially we can do exterior?
That right there, question.
No, not this,
No,
that.
Well, the precast down low, it's always a precast down low. Even you have some design, you talked about some precast going a little bit lower,
Okay.
you know.
It can be done.
And
You gotta be careful with, can we do it?
Right.
Because you can do anything.
Yeah.
Time and money.
Well, yeah, it's, and I was just assuming it was the stuff that it was more like what they put on, like the Walgreens almost, you know how they have the crunchy and then and that's not what you want. That's not the look we want, but the way that they
Oh,
stacked
I
it
see what you're saying.
with the flat.
Split face and.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's interior.
That's a.
No, yes,
Just interior.
it has.
there's block that could be done exterior, but it's block and it'll give you that.
They have some
Just
shit.
the different.
So give you the front.
Different modules and.
Make sure that's.
I was just saying, if they were trying to come up with a breakup design, I thought,
Going for the brownstone look, right?
yeah.
Right.
To accentuate, and we're kind of getting into the shadowing. Can we kind of work on it a little more, maybe? Is that?
Sure. I mean, even within the brick. So imagine the darker brick that's between the windows has a rustication in it. It has every other course is set back. So you get that sort of striation that you're talking about. Right?
And don't do this then, if you do that, right?
I do both.
Look at the panel that Brian's brought with the colors, because I think you also have, you have different textures in.
That's right.
the panel, right?
Right.
So you cannot see in a photograph the way that differentiation of texture is going to read. And I think some of these pictures look much lighter than actually the richness of the color, but I was really pleased with the different smooth velour kind of textures and how those were going to go together. And we can be more defined in it to create, I think, the punkiness that kind of references the brownstone idea a little bit more. If you want to kind of see more of it.
Saying just that one wall in the back is 10 to 15%.
In the sides.
Like you're gonna wrap to the.
Of this pattern.
Yep.
Yes, it would be sort of.
Whatever that brick item is.
Go back.
Plus
to that one.
10%.
You'll see it. Go back to that one. It was.
I do like how you're breaking it up. I think that's nice, you know, but I don't know.
See the column, no, back, yeah. See the.
No, I get it. I
Is that
get
the
where
10%?
it's going.
Okay, okay.
I thought he was talking cost.
We,
Percentage of material use,
Okay.
which of course would have a,
No, of course.
but yeah.
But I mean, laying brick in different ways probably costs more money as well.
Do you think more?
You know, if a mason lays 700 bricks a day, he may only be able to do 600.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing different courses,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it works, right? So it's a little bit more labor for efficiency versus the line that's just doing amount of running back.
I'm just saying it all.
Right. No,
but we usually don't really see much of a bump at this stage of pricing for an item like that. It tends to just get absorbed. It could be something that if it's really special, I mean, these are basically half bricks that are just laid an inch further out. So I don't know, am I hearing that there's a desire for more sort of texturing of the building?
What is it?
At the base as well?
Texture, or is it brownstone referencing? So don't, if you tell us what the priorities are, then
Can we do both?
you like to.
And not the offset brick, because that's too many things, right?
Yeah, I personally, I
Do
don't
like a
like the,
brownstone texture, maybe.
In color.
It was always very rough, kind of rough hewn, you know, it was never,
But only as accents,
yeah.
not the whole field.
Right.
Okay.
Right. The library here has a very heavily textured brick. It might be Norman, or it might be even longer, 12 or 16. And it has just a very heavy texture on the face of it. We could look at something like that for these fields of the darker brick. And I think the lighter brick, the playing with the sheen seems like nice with that because it's a lighter touch anyway. So we can play off of the heavy and the light. We also have the dark brick around windows at the front of the building. So you can see it there as well. So we'll take a look at that. This is almost purely a pricing issue, which is we've been carrying Norman brick, which typically does provide a slight bit of savings in terms of the labor because it's fewer bricks to lay up, right? because they're longer bricks. We've been having a little bit of concern lately about the tolerances of the longer brick and their tendency to twist a little bit in the kiln. We've had actual issues with that.
Talked about this. We talked about Norman brick.
And so we'd like to price this, or we could move simply to standard brick, 8-inch, which is tried and true. There are a lot more.
Norman? Or is that standard? That looks
That
like
looks
it's
standard.
Yeah.
So it's even hard to get samples of the Norman because it's just it's manufactured in short runs, and so there are minimums with it and all of that.
Standard.
The standard, you get a much wider range of color and texture. So we could just go with that. We think it's it's going to give you the best opportunity to some real savings.
What's the cost? What's the difference cost roughly? Ballpark.
I don't know.
Is it going to pay for our sod?
I mean, we could keep it in the DD estimate as an
lights on.
option if you want to know the difference.
Are you, wait, is there a desire for the Norman?
Yeah, what's
No, but if it's 50% less.
Fewer
bricks, and it may save labor money.
Right, but then it
That's all I'm asking.
costs you twice as much.
Mark, do you think
Twice as much for the
Norman or
mason to put it in place.
And I agree with we've got some Norman, I think the job we're doing now, the jumbo bricks, when they're baked in kiln, they curl, they twist, and you get a lot of variations. You get the look like you did, you get the shadow lines, which looks like, even though they're flush at one point, they're curled out.
Yeah. And we've had some jobs where it's perfect.
It looks like it depends on, like you said, less color choices, longer lead times, all that kind of stuff kind of works in. It does at the end of the day, from a distance look good. If you get the sun hitting it right, you got the twists and turns like you're talking about. And it's like, what the hell did they do?
But Mark, in terms of cost between the
You're going to get, they're going to say that the standard brick that the normal guy can do anyway, depending by 500 to 600 brick a day and linear footage. The jumbo, you're going to get a little bit more. When they bid it, they're bidding brick. They're bidding guys laying. You're not going to see a large cost difference. It's going to be your lead time and your color difference, and then you spend it, like you said,
and then your final quality.
And I'm going to the standard that they carry space with. Right.
Consistent.
Standard brick.
Great.
Can I just, before we absolutely wrap that concept, given that we also have given Brian direction to explore textures in a different way, I'd leave a little allowance that if the Norman ends up being helpful to that exploration in small quantity, because I can imagine that coming back as a
Maybe the
sides or something.
Yeah, you might want to, because the Norman may help you with that banding that you're kind of interested in, just to keep a little caveat.
Thanks, Tori.
Caveat accepted.
We showed granite last time, and I think that we liked the Deer Isle, but the Englishman's Bay is very similar and is a lot more available and economical. So I'm recommending that. It's from Maine. It's a great stone. So, and I think it works well with the palette. Next slide, please.
All right.
Yes, like not a single thing.
We have talked about
Did that?
Right, and so this might be the last one, but it's we did take out about over 25% of the sun shading devices that we had at SD. So we should see a good number come back for that.
All right.
What was that, because of a window reduction, or we're just going with less solar shade?
We had them continuous, and they were shading areas that didn't need it. So a slight trade-off here is you can see the angle of the sun allows just that little sliver of light to get in on the edge. We've extended the length of these individually by about a foot on either end so that it minimizes that. But, it's no system is perfect, but this is a pretty good one.
I noticed we don't have the PV on the roof yet. I know we're not there yet. We're going to have another consultant. However, the aesthetics from the exterior are important from the approach, right? So are we going to address that?
Well, let me point out that you all have left stuff with two completely.
I know. That's why I want to talk about it. I don't
know.
Well, Elizabeth's not paying attention, so it's a pointless.
So even better. Because her opinion is different than mine.
I mean, at the moment, I will tell you honestly, and Elizabeth is not going to like me on this one either, is that we have an intent here for PV on this roof and for it to be productive. And we are now putting units on the roof. Sorry, this is totally going away from your interest here. But we have all this mechanical system on the roof, right? So even if we consolidate, it limits our availability of area, right? So that PV currently certainly would be on areas that are to the front on that first story. They'll be on all sorts of rooftops. And it would be visible. The only way to make it invisible is to not have it there or to put expensive screens on there, which I do not think this committee wants. So I do not see how we can have the PV on the roof and invisible.
From the front, but what about the back?
From the back in terms of,
If we put it on the back of the building, so.
Well, that's what I mean.
Looking at it from the back, but from the front.
well, it's a quantity, right? So if we limit it and don't put it on the front, then we simply have a lot less PV. So if the point of the PV is to generate electricity, we need the area of it. And because of all the equipment we have on the roof, we're already limiting our area.
But we're going to need some screening for that equipment, correct? Probably.
Yes, but that's not.
And because of the layout, the north facing of the building, we're going to look at the back of the PV panels, maybe, correct? How is that going to work? I'd rather see the front of them, you know what I'm saying? But I know it's not going to work, right? Because we're on the wrong side.
Far away from the building.
The racking system.
And you're driving into.
Be low.
Not gonna block the angle. It's not gonna be staying like you see in a field. It's only gonna be. In order to make your PV useful, like she says, you need to do a PV system.
And that's what we want.
15 panels and then say, oh, you're gonna save, a light off now and then. You need to do a system.
But I want it useful, but I also want to almost accentuate the fact that this is a modern structure, that we're investing in clean energy, that this town's making a priority, and we're spending some serious money on it. So let's show the people that it's there, but not make it ugly.
Exactly. Driving down Maple Street, you want to see that. You want people to see it.
That's what I'm saying.
You want people to see solar panels?
Yes.
Once they know they're there, they're there.
I have them on my house. I don't even see them anymore because I go there.
I know, but the difference is you're going to be seeing the back.
Go there every day.
The most important.
You gotta go to your office.
I would wait. Once that happens, they will not be back. I want to know if they could go look now. I said. Roll them back.
Don't.
Gordon, roll them back.
Hey, I don't notice them either. You ever heard the cats go?
Interior finish.
Keep those two together.
I don't know. I usually don't.
All
right, and serious.
It's like a scroll.
That's
exactly.
Yeah, all day long.
I know.
All right. So this slide is just to remind.
Interior, right?
Yes.
Okay.
To remind people of the inspiration that you guys talked about at primary meetings and to talk about.
Inspiration.
Yeah. So it's
Bring us back.
bringing you back to the natural materials, the quarries in the area, inspiring a lot of the color palettes of the material, the texture, and the shapes, all of the above of the building. So this is just a little sprinkling of all of our materials coming up. So you can.
So we're not going to over red tile, like everything's not going to be red tile is what you're saying. Great.
Your house.
There's some.
Get back to the Brady Bunch.
No red, no red, no
No,
yellow.
you can over accentuate the color, right? We could be red and white everywhere. I don't want that. I like the green. It's good. So.
Yeah, so we're trying to use color as a navigational tool, a wayfinding tool, and we're trying to keep within the very natural palette because of all the stone and the quarry and the sandstone that we've all been talking about on the exterior. So this is just a brief overview of the building. It's a little hard to understand because of the perspective, but level 1 has the 2 academic wings on the bottom. So the wing is not going to be green. It's there's going to be accents of color. There's actually very limited amount of color. They're just acting like punches of color. Everything's going to be a very natural, neutral palette, but this is a way to identify what part of the school you're in. So the 2 academic wings are red and green. The admin and art wing, where the auditorium also exists, as blue, deep blue. The colors are looking a little vibrant here. They are really not this bright. There's much more of a muted palette. But the the athletics and nursing wing or wellness wing has a grays primarily on the back part of this vantage point. On the front of this vantage point is the locker room and athletics. So that would tend to go more to the school colors and be a little punchier, black and red. And then upstairs on the academic wings is the sky blue and a nice bright golden color. So that's just to kind of get familiar with the mindset of the navigation. And then you can go to the next slide. So this is as you enter the building, that entrance that Brian was showing. So you walk in and it's a really beautiful, lots of natural light. This is the wedge shape. It's the heart of that concept exists here. And we're using like a porcelain tile on the floor that is really durable. The color is a nice gray, but it's also really effective in the whole. This becomes a real social hub. A lot of kids coming and going, so it'll hold up to that well. The materials on the wall are all warm and natural palette with wood, and we're using a really beautiful. I brought the tile. It's over on the table. Tile on the wall that is directly inspired by the striation of the soils and the stones in the quarries. And it's got a really nice tactile feeling to it. It's very, almost feels soft. It's really nice. The auditorium is really a big feature in this part, but it's also starting a navigational concept of all the classroom entrances having a similar treatment where it's a very matte, small, and again, I have the tiles over there, vertical set. So it's tile, so it makes a real nice texture in the entrances, but it's an easy navigational piece going through all the wings. They'll all have that accent color of this type of tile. But we wanted to really make the auditorium feel like a bigger splash here. What else do we have? The stairs, the monumental stairs is going to have a terrazzo on the left there, you see, and wood on the right, so that it's another social opportunity for gathering. And then the water fountains, again, I have this tile over here. It's a gloss tile. It's a red, but it's got a lot of variation in it. So it's not just like a solid, more of an elementary school feeling. We're trying to really elevate a lot of the look and feel so the kids feel that this is a beautiful, respected, and then therefore they feel respected space to.
I am happy that you guys didn't. I'm happy with this entrance. I think it's really beautiful. I think it has a presence to it. As much as I might have liked the, stone somewhere else, I think that you lose the auditorium in that area with the cafeteria, and this is really pretty.
Yeah, and the natural light is going to be really a wonderful thing when you step into this school. Next slide. So if you enter the auditorium, we're going with the really warm wood palette and trying to keep the red, but not make it feel too bright, that it really feels like it's muted down and sophisticated. I have the floor, the carpeting over there. Also, it's got the touch of the red and nice golden to pull the wood into it. And there's a limited amount of color in here, just so, again, it feels like a calm and sophisticated space. There's black on the back of the stage wall for obvious reasons, but there's also those pivoting doors. In the back.
Just a couple of details on this, because we spent a lot of time on the auditorium recently. So those doors on the stage are pivoting doors that open and close. So they kind of create a directive, and they're allowing that movement in.
Instead of like curtains.
Yeah, and the intent here is by design through our conversation. This is as much an acoustic space for the orchestra. It's also got just for Dawn's sake, just past the opening, there's a very large screen that comes down, so it's good projection space intentionally. On the right, you see those yellows upper walls and those curtains, and the curtains aren't quite to the full height that they're supposed to be, but those are acoustic curtains that help adjust and sort of tune the sound. And then you see those
little rims of light, that's those windows that you're seeing from the outside that will also be able to block or open. And then at the very back where Katie was pointing out it's black, there's also a layer that's a cyclorama that you can lower and light. So it can also be bright. It can be other things as well.
There was no stage curtains?
There is a set of curtains that come across, but just one. It's rather than your layers of curtains that you have on a typical high school narrow drama stage. This stage is intentionally trying to be more open and brighter. And the curtain that we have, you see how the wood panel turns back and then there's a black line. That's where there's the pocket for the curtain, so that you could have the curtain closed and have about 5 feet of space so that you could say do a lecture from in front of the curtain, so you could light the site. So you have kind of layers of control, but not the typical curtain approach.
Is that a catwalk?
Yeah. And there's catwalks. And there's kind of lighting controls at the back.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a nice soft lighting at the top of the wood too, so it really accentuates all the materials. It's going to be a really nice.
Dory, what's that at the top of the stage? No, down low.
Down here?
Yes.
So those are reflective acoustic panels that help to bounce sound out. And then the ones that are not, and that element and the ones that you see that are curved, those are not really quite what it's going to look like, because we're working with Kavanaugh on this, and they'll be helping us spec it a little bit more. But the intent is that we have these different layers of cloud, essentially, and the ones outside of the stage are helping to disperse sound and also have some absorption on top. The ones over the stage are reflecting the sound out into the auditorium.
And those still works with lighting. Oh, I'm sorry. Still works with lighting.
Yeah, so that's why you have those divides. Is there's 3 levels of light, so it's designed around, and there's catwalks over the stage as well that are, so that students, and there's actually a walkway kind of up. So there's a lot of thinking around the catwalk and students learning about lighting control.
Great.
And those are wood, those panels up there?
The ones above are kind of a faux wood.
They're solid though.
Yeah, they're solid looking. They can be either perf or non, but they look solid. And then you can either have them tighter or they can be more of a solid, like boom, 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 or kind of dispersed. We haven't really finished that. Partly that's an acoustic thing. I think they'll be looking a little bit more solid than they look, but in bands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But the product is not a hard product.
Right.
That would be counter.
Right.
So, but it looks like in terms of wearability for that 5-10 years up the line.
Oh yeah, that's great. I mean, you see these things in theaters for decades.
Decades. Okay.
It's solid. It probably looks clothy. It's curved because that helps to scatter.
Okay. So, but it isn't soft. You made it sound like it was a material, but
I thought it was a material.
It's solid.
I just meant sometimes they're
like a canvas,
faux wood, and sometimes they're real wood, and I'm not 100% sure which.
Sorry, is there anything on the other end of and maybe it's not even necessary, but well, I was just thinking of all the things that are taped by LCAT right now, all the different.
At the second level, there's a whole lighting booth that extends out over and so they, rather than being just sitting at the table at the back of the auditorium now, they'll have their own room up there, and
I wondered
2 open kind of catwalks to their sort of levels outside where the sound will be. So yeah, we've been kind of working with them, so it's going to be very nice.
The other thing is too, there's not stairs from the bottom going up.
Correct. You see the carpet to your left there where your hand is?
Yeah.
That goes straight to the stage. So you don't have to ramp up to it.
I know.
What's happening is the seating is going down.
Okay.
Sorry, a little bit of a departure, but we hadn't shown you that and we really wanted to.
So the gymnasium, I think you've seen a little bit of this, but we've added a lot of the color palette. We want to do a custom graphic on the wall there opposite the bleachers, and then continue it around the sides with a pattern painted on. We really wanted to do the black and red school colors, but try and elevate it a little so that it it feels like it's more of the in kind with the time we're in versus throwback. And the openings in the gym. This is why we wanted to show it from this angle. I think it's really nice that you can feel like you're seeing out into the hallway and into the gym in both those spaces. There's windows that you're not seeing it from this perspective behind you, and if you're sitting in the bleachers, so the room will have a nice bright feeling, and that's all. The lighting isn't really showing right here, but the lighting is going to be effective both down and up, so it'll make the whole space feel really bright.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Dory, are those permanent bleachers? Are they pullouts or?
They're mechanized pull-out, and wood has been the spec thus far. Those could be plastic instead of wood, but wood feels nicer. It's your call though.
So
The ones at the school we saw, those really sweet ones.
Yeah.
They'd be like that.
Yeah.
Those are sweet.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time in bleachers. The ones we have, you can't
So
see one
awful.
person here and one person here. Can we make sure there's enough depth?
Leg room. Okay, I'll make it.
It's important because otherwise you're only getting half the seats, and that's what either that or we're like this. So
Right. I mean, the one thing is the count, right? So
Yes.
Yeah, we have. So I'll give you the information. Maybe you can compare it to the one.
Okay, perfect.
I'm happy with it. Bill.
I will.
They're all bad.
Do basketball hoops go up electronically?
Yeah. And there's, again, I think not all of the ceiling. Ductwork is not.
I just need to ask.
There'd be curtains that go across. If they
That's that red line. It would be.
And I also had seen at the school we went, they had like if we have at least the motorized mechanism to put one of those things where we could store mats.
That'll
and
put
put
it
up.
up here.
Doing that.
And the batting cage. So those
Wrestling mat's going up.
not shown, but
We're gonna wrestling mat too, right?
good.
Yeah.
wrestling.
Sorry, I have one more question. So that's an open space out to the hallway?
Yeah, so
Those big,
but
large
understand where you are. So, and again, this is something that you saw if you came, I'm not sure if you did,
I did, and I was unable to make that.
Yeah, so at Middlesex, so what you're looking at is towards the locker rooms, and that's a ground face block wall on the other side. That's one place where we are using block on the interior. Those are the coaches' offices that look into the gym, and that hallway is only the hallway between the locker rooms and the gym. So it's not like your students are actually going through there. The students are going from the locker room in, and that extra hallway, which you need for circulation, also then becomes extra storage for the gymnasium. So it's something that we saw at
So you did see
Middlesex.
there and it-
People liked a lot, so we
successful.
intentionally brought it in. And on the side, the other sides, there are windows and doorways, but this is the only openings are that direction. To the left, there's windows into the alt PE space and the weight room. So, thank you.
Minor details, scoreboards. I'm hoping there's two, but also are we gonna get a chance to look at them because our scoreboard is lacking. It doesn't show player and fouls, any of that information.
It's about
Can
that.
we do that at some point?
We have spec, because I just wrote the spec on this, includes player number.
Foul, yes.
So if that's one, I can send you.
And two of them.
And if you want to,
Yes.
we asked and the school did not ask for two. They asked for one.
Okay.
You know.
Just from all
Be better,
perspectives, because
yeah.
in ours, you can't see one.
The
You
other
can see
end.
this one. You can't see that one. So there's no use,
Just something like that.
They're not enough to say no to at the moment.
that's what I mean. Let's do it right. So this is gonna be a beautiful gym that we want to use all the time.
We want it to work.
Short money in
And
this
I
game.
assume you want them left and right.
Yeah.
This is a
Is
small.
there enough room for the teams to sit on the side?
Yeah.
Teams and
Yeah, they're
scores
on the other side. Yeah.
away from the bleachers? Okay.
Yeah. So the game court lines are not shoved to the far side, but they're not in the center either because you want as much room for those bleachers as you can.
Bleachers are just on one side.
A good, I think, 8 to 10 feet between line and.
Awesome.
There's been a couple references to red and black. Is that, I mean, we're still scarlet and gray, correct?
Well, scarlet, more scarlet.
Yeah, the gray is going to be in the pattern all across the custom graphic.
Black is not a main color. Red and.
That's all I was trying.
Yeah.
Would you rather?
So we didn't go too far down a line of these are the school colors.
Do you want?
That's all.
Okay.
That's it. I
Okay.
hate talking about that. I'm.
No,
If it's not a right.
You sprinkle in gray in here?
No, I'm just saying.
No, we can, if it's an issue at all, we can
It's
shift.
not an issue. It actually looks sharp. I just,
But yeah,
in black thing down the line, I just didn't want to go
Want too much
far
to
without-
black, right?
Yeah.
The official, what you're saying, the official colors are called scarlet and gray.
Correct.
Okay. I just,
thank you.
I can sleep tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. I'm talking about the budget.
That's your biggest worry, yeah, right.
So this is a continuation of the spine. You walk through the entrance and see the auditorium on your right. Then you pass under a cafeteria A, as we call it, because this is the first one you come to. So that's the roof you're seeing, the ceiling you're seeing here above you, which is. And then you enter,
Exiting cafeteria A?
yes, and then you enter into the bigger cafeteria B.
That's gorgeous.
My kids saw it.
So we're trying to keep this.
And that's how the lighting looks? It's nice.
Well, yeah.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rendering, but nonetheless.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really nice. So again, we're trying to keep the same general feeling of all the natural colors and the natural materials, but have little pops of the red. I think the railing is a really nice way to do so because it is bringing red in, but it's got a transparency to it so that it's not overwhelming.
Scarlett?
You can see Scarlett. Sorry.
Nice.
Wood on the walls and wood on these partitions. And then the the sunshade that Brian was talking about is up at that top area. That's where it has an effect in that hallway up there. So that allows, again, the light to come through, but won't create major hotspots.
From this view, you'll be able to see the hallway colors, the individual ones.
No.
It's not until you actually get into the hallway where you say this is the screen hallway.
Yep. So
has Lori Paul, the food service director, seen these renderings? I know you worked with
No,
her.
I don't think she's seen them. She did. She's like,
I'd love for her to see them.
That's where the services were going to be, but she hasn't seen these yet. No.
Is that exposed structure at the top?
Yes, in this area. Yep. So we go from the glue lamps in the front area, and then once you get in here, we're going to the open web because they're all.
Oh, and
You're not spraying that with insulation or anything like that, are you?
Not here, we don't have.
Insulation collects dust and.
No, and as because of your comments, I want you to know we've worked really hard to limit any of that. I mean, we have it in some
No,
accounts.
I was thinking of East Hampton. They weren't even done yet and they were already dusty. I was like, but those are high and they're.
the images on.
So
sorry. The images on the right are just, they're found images to represent the type of lighting we're going to have in here. We don't have the lights in yet, but in the cafeteria B, we're planning to have these clusters of the globe lights just to soften some of the angles that we're showing everywhere else and modernize the space a bit.
Could you refresh my memory? Cafeteria A and B, what's the difference of the
So
size?
it's essentially walking from the spine entry. You reach cafeteria A first. So it's just A because it's the first one you get to. It's a lower ceiling. That's the ceiling you're seeing that is the wood look right above you on the top right.
Yeah.
And I've been referring to it as the Starbucks area because it's a little looser. It's less of a bigger cafeteria feeling for kids that want to eat in a cozier area. Okay. And then this is the bigger, open, more natural daylight, a little more socialization. There's a little seating area under.
I was going to
stairs.
ask, are these like a booth?
Yeah, they're well, not a booth, but a way to create some corners.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't feel so.
Yeah.
So the different types of kids like to eat in a big open area and be social, or some kids want to recede into the corners a little bit. So we're giving something for everybody.
And don't take the furniture seriously yet at all. This is okay. Don't do the furniture well. So that there's still some design work there.
Yeah, those are just representing. And so this is just a reminder of the color navigation before we start leaving the spine and going into the various wings.
It's a reminder.
Color. Well, it's if you're in that main area, you can look over and there's a small accent where you can see, or when you're trying to tell someone you have to go down the green wing and they're looking around, they can't see the green.
Well, now the signage,
there'll be signage.
You'll see the spine number shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the accent colors are just accent pops. They're not. It's not like you're
like our pink hallway here.
See a green wing hallway, So they're just a way for you when you're in the space to kind of remember where you are. So we're starting with the admin A wing, this is just to illustrate the fact that the color in the classrooms are primarily on the exterior walls only. That it's just an accent color. The rooms are white.
By looking at the policy.
Yeah.
And again, these colors are showing really bright here, but they are, we're trying to have them be stronger on the first floor, and then they get lighter as they go up to the second floor. But
It's just across from the bathrooms. I'm only asking.
That's the
Sadness for that person.
The district, that's the district office admin area. So that the intent is that if you have a parent coming in, you don't want them actually expanding into the school. So that's just that one limited area.
Central office here?
That's
That's the turn into the central office. So that's the central office waiting area.
Across, on the other side of the bathroom, what is that?
An office.
Sorry.
oh, you mean towards us?
It's music, okay.
Oh,
That's what I was trying to figure out. Like,
The little red dots.
okay,
And again, the furniture is not necessarily representing.
that makes sense, 'cause that's.
Stools, just a bunch of stools.
Nice.
So we're in the D wing now, we are using, like I said, the same type of tile, and this is the same tile as in the auditorium where it's the textured, very matte at the entrances. The floor switches from the porcelain tile we had at the spine to a linoleum floor here, and we're using, it's very contrasty here on your screen, but the floor is actually not quite so contrasty, but it shows the wedge kind of patterning throughout. It's pretty bold and big so that it doesn't feel like it's really busy. It spreads across on a very balanced way. And then that nice porcelain tile on the walls continues down all the hallways. And
Are those benches built in?
yes, and there'll be wood benches, and they're going to be at both academic wings on the first floor, and then we'll show you again on the second floor. And you can see that there's another gathering under the stairs on the back, farther back. You can see another location for those two. And sorry.
No, I'm sorry, just with the wainscot, it's beautiful, but like, that's at 4 feet?
Is it 4 or 5?
Is there a product out there that might look as nice that like we could do that 6 because they touch the wall? There's nothing.
Well, I mean, it's a cost issue. Like I would
Yeah, I
take it up
know.
to 6, or I would take it all the way up if we could, but I mean, you know, if magically we have more money, happily take it up because we want to. And in the good old days, we cover as much.
Yeah, it was just more like that backpack height too, in the walls.
Not fair. We're doing the sod.
He wants sod, but I'd take higher
I
than.
think we need $1 million for the sod.
It's beautiful. If you can get a chance to look at it, I love the way it feels.
I wish we could have, it's a problem, but
Yeah.
we're kind of.
Although there is something about if you go too high, it starts to make it feel small and
See the sod?
a little bit. It's going to light. It's nice and light and bright right now.
Much growing season and when it gets in.
But this seating area, I guess we would have to look at a plan again to show you, but there's an interior mass that ends at this point, and at that end, there's going to be a screen. So this seating area is across from a screen. I actually do.
So Ryan, remember you wanted digital signage in the wings?
Everywhere.
So
everywhere.
And I think you see in another perspective, but these are students looking towards that digital signage at the end of the triangle.
Yeah, so they get the opportunity to have that on this seating area, and then in the back, there isn't a screen. So there's both, again, for what kids are comfortable. So this, you can see the screen,
There's the
actually. So, yeah, so this is stairs.
Go to
in the
class.
same wing.
Are you still sitting?
So you come up the stairs, and you'll see the skylight area that's painted yellow right there. There's another perspective. We'll see that you have a lovely amount of daylight coming in of the windows up there.
Stairs?
Yeah. So it creates some daylight right there and an openness as you're traveling up the stairs, making it feel more expansive. But the matte tile again at the entrances of all the classrooms, and up here it's a golden color. Behind the water fountains will have that same gloss tile that we have in the spine where it's got a lot of variety, but it in the same accent color family. So this is like a sandy yellowy color.
Those water fountains have bottle fillers too, correct? All of them? Okay, great.
And the render is not showing the floor well of that bathroom area, but that is actually, you see the 1, 2, 3 over from the left to the right. That's the bathroom floor. It's a really nice aggregate in it. So it feels like a cut stone. It's sprinkled through both the outer corridor of the bathroom and in the bathrooms it continues in.
Same PCT product, or is that something different?
It's a different, yeah, but it's still porcelain.
We're talking level 2 bathrooms, and I know you just mentioned it. Are we able to revisit those bathrooms? Because I'm worried about them, or is that a done deal? And the why I'm worried about them, because you said they were done in an elementary school, but not necessarily in a high school.
That's not true.
Those are in a high school?
Oh, yeah.
And they're liking them?
Yeah.
Then I pull back. Thank you.
My
My only point is, there's a difference, but if they're working,
So the ones that you are thinking that
Yes.
we saw at the elementary school were actually the more airport style where you had, that was the elementary school.
yeah,
Individual.
okay, those are working in a high school. They don't have any
I
problems
think
with it.
it's even better. There's more preferred by the number of teenagers who don't go to the bathroom during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Embarrassed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
These are really,
But
They don't want to.
hey, men are slobs, and so I know, but it's a true thing. And so I want people to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I want everybody to feel comfortable. And if that's the most comfortable way, then I'll take it. Okay.
Is the little wing wall next to the water fountain just for purposes of being able to terminate the tile somewhere?
yeah.
It's nice though, because I don't think.
And also,
Like going into the bathroom, the water, so this is nice because it's there. And then,
to take a drink, you know what I mean?
you know,
well, it's also protects the gyp, so it's not gonna break down from any possible splashing. It makes sense for durability and
Make
for,
it shorter if you want.
yeah, it looks like it's sticking out a little big.
big.
I don't think it's actually that big, sorry.
I was just curious if that's what it was for, but
Yeah, it is.
Is there any kind of built-in mat or anything underneath there? Sorry, I'm thinking of all the accents.
Well, it's a porcelain,
Water.
you can look at it on the table, so I don't think it's gonna be
Okay.
go by.
yeah,
You don't want anything to absorb water and sit there.
yeah,
You'd rather have
definitely.
a hard
It'd
surface.
be worse than, yeah.
it can be.
Okay, and then the E-wing level 1. So we have that seating area, which is not really looking like wood in this, but it is, but it is wood, those seats. So that's the one that you saw in the other slide where it's was farther back behind the stairs. That's showing that there, a little gathering area. Again, the entrance tile is the matte green, and the water fountain in this case is in the hallway. So that tile again is matte surround. That tile will also be the wet wall in the bathrooms. And then the rest of the walls in those bathrooms will just be a standard kind of matte white subway tile. So the accent is just that.
So the bathrooms will be completely tiled then?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Not to ceiling. They got just to 7 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great.
Is there anything else?
Those little
railings under the stairs.
keep you from whacking your head, so instead you trip.
Knock your head down though.
Exactly what I was thinking.
And they might be a little taller than.
Skateboard ramps.
I was thinking skateboard.
Right? They
Yeah.
Tails.
We're gonna go over that.
Yeah, it's a kind of code thing we have to
Cane
have.
detection.
It's cane.
Yeah.
You want it,
Recited.
yeah, it's. like-
I know.
Don't hit their head.
You have to have it. Yeah.
So
Got it.
they can be a little higher though, right?
They can be.
Okay, that might be.
You hit your shin.
Yeah. It might be nice to make them the height of the bench so that they're
Yeah.
kind of fine with that. So.
I'm surprised they allow them that low. Like, what if you're not paying attention and you trip?
Well, it's for cane.
It's designed for a cane.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I know, but I'm talking about the height wise. Like if you had the bar, but then you had another one higher.
Well, you don't really want to turn into a little cage area either, like a pen.
I feel like they hang in the stair though. I think that's cool. And they can't do
During
things in
timeout.
there you don't want them doing.
Somebody- All right.
Very busy, very busy stairwells here. Yes, they have it.
Second floor of the E-wing, and this is the light blue tile, this is all the same theme. You can see a little bit of the windows I was talking about up high.
Got the skylight.
The skylight, well, it's not really a skylight, it's an opening, with the celestial windows up there.
Oh, gotcha.
And then we have some nice pendant lighting moment there. And I don't think you can really,
Sorry.
We're ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Politely though.
Also, thank you.
yeah, and all that, well, not all, but most of those materials that we are showing here are on the table. And a nice thing to do is just go over and feel them all, because the tactile aspect of them all is a reason why we picked them as well.
Porcelain's not slippery.
On the floor is linoleum.
Oh.
And that's over there also. The
Look at the
other
bathroom
floor.
area.
And they're not, because you'll see it. It's a real,
Take a look.
yeah. And the same with the spine. It's more of a, it's got some texture. Yeah.
I love the color scheme.
Yeah,
Good.
very nice. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, thank you. Everything looks great. Exciting.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, we're.
Looks orange there, but it's not.
Again,
It looks orange, but
too
it's.
much comes from me. I'm-
Right.
So, yeah.
May not be scarlet exactly.
Oh, well. Nobody sings the fight song anymore anyway, I doubt.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Bring back the scale.
Sounds like a ton of job.
Okay.
Yeah, bring it back.
We're bringing the
Bring it
fight
back.
song.
Where's the elevator?
Let's get some more.
Where's the elevator?
It is,
If you go to the.
in the cafeteria. Does it perspective?
I don't know. Might be able to.
When you're in the cafeteria looking south, we go around, right around there. So see where the guy with the white shirt is? No, just to that side.
Oh, it's over there.
Because when you come out at the second floor, you're at that landing.
Okay. We have just one?
Yeah,
Or is only one?
we discussed.
Yeah, I
that.
remember.
mean,
Discussed
mine
too.
shows-
We had the firewall for a while.
More money anyways.
I know, a big couple $100,000, right?
You can at least run around in it.
Elections every.
Oh, yeah, it's got its capacity size. And in fact,
The elevators.
and it will be
Almost single
size for a lift and
way to
a
go.
stretcher.
Oh, well, that's all right. Going the wrong direction.
Oh, sorry. Did you want to go? Right.
There. One more back.
How's it gonna go?
No. Okay. Vanilla?
Guard, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this working.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
We're losing them.
Thank you.
It looks like
She does.
seeing the stairs.
I'll pay it.
John? Well, we're just, yeah. John would like to mention one thing.
As strong.
And Benzinger?
But in
John Barros.
John, my facilities guy.
Hey, Jeff, what do you got?
For some,
Gray, light
Guys,
gray.
guys, guys,
Yeah.
Got a question.
quick question.
I'm here. I don't know it.
Jonathan Barrows, I'm the building facilities manager for the town. So as a father with 3 teenagers at home and a former Hellion myself, just a couple things that stood out to me. So the support columns, the cantilever support columns underneath the overhang right at the entrance. I just see that as a hardcore surface. So I'm trying to get up as high as they can on those. We put in carving names and that stuff into that's just what pops out in my head. But then as far as the paneling on the second story, paneling versus brick. I know with brick and mortar, you're generally looking at anywhere from 50 to 70 year lifespan on those, as far as maintenance goes for the mortar. Would there be any sort of effect with them being higher with driving wind and rain, maybe more sun exposure, just from a maintenance standpoint to having to replace fixed mortar and stuff like that?
Of the masonry? No,
Right.
not substantially. I mean, I think you'd be repointing the brick at some point, decades down the line, for the whole building.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I got. That was it. Thanks.
John, so barbed wire on the.
Yes.
Oh, the wood bleachers.
Wood bleachers, yes. Thank you.
Is that it from the design side? We guys have
We
something?
have the materials on the table if anyone wants to take a look.
Check it out.
I'm sure they will. but
Touch and feel.
Before we do, why don't we see if we can wrap up our business? So that appears to be any new business from anybody on the remote call?
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Guess.
We're all gone.
Any new business in the room? You guys just sat through almost 2 hours of awesomeness.
Awesome.
Are you still feeling good?
But they're still in the room. That's a good.
Still here.
Take VE ideas. That's because they blocked it from the outside. Sincerely, like anything you're seeing that's giving you pause, like, hey, this isn't really what we anticipated.
What about the building committee? Is that?
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, okay.
Wait a minute.
We know. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we know.
So seeing no new business, excuse me. Is there a motion to adjourn?
We have another date that we meet. I thought we already locked.
Oh, 28th.
That's right. Yeah.
3 o'clock.
Thank you.
Second.
There.
Who made the motion?
I got a motion out of Bruce. I got a second out of Tom.
Intercepted.
How?
Yeah, got him this time. I'm strong.
All right.
All right. Here we are.
The motion.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Crucial.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. Ms. Blair.
Yeah. Especially.
I think Mr. Page had to go.
Yeah, I think they're all gone on.
Okay. Ms. Brown.
Ms. Hill.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Remind me of my visit.
Ms. Margin Boucher.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's going to be.
I should have introduced him.
I think he's a yes.
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 Okay.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
I do. Mr. Christensen.
Yes.
Yes. All right. We're out.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, too.